Hey, hi guys. So last time when we left the game, we had these meteorites coming through and we were able to shoot them, and they were having this nice explosion effect. One bug which I actually found was all the meteors were coming from the left hand side and they were starting way below the screen. So the reason for that is if you open the code for meteorites, okay, yeah, no, this one, the spawning one. Yeah, so the position Y is set to 200, which should be 0. That means on the top of the screen, and this needs to be position X. So once we fix that, we should have the meteorites coming from the right position. Yeah, so they should be random now and it should be exploding. Okay, so let me discuss what we actually plan to do today. So today we plan to add in a couple of more enemies. So we've got some enemies out here, enemy ships. So we want these enemies to come from the side and maybe go away like this. I think we've already seen this in a number of arcade style games, but we are going to try to replicate the same out here. So first of all, let's just fix the enemy sprite. We want the origin of the enemy sprite to be out here, enemy ship, and we need a bullet or missile projectile which the enemy will shoot. So we'll quickly create a sprite. We don't have a sprite for that. We have these enemy missiles, but this is pretty similar to the player missiles. We want something which is a little different looking. So quickly we just want to create a sprite. You want to call it spt underscore enemy underscore bullet. That's what we're going to call it, and we're just going to keep it at I think 32. Let's just let it be a 34 or something. I think more fitting size would be 32 for this. So 32 into 32, apply, and edit the image. And we're just going to create a small circle. I think we're going to keep yeah, so that's our missile or enemy bullets. So before we start, let's just quickly create an object. We need two objects out here. One is going to be the obj underscore enemy. I hope I spelled it right. And we're going to give it the enemy ship sprite. And so I know this sprite is pretty big. If I place it into the room, I've already seen this. So yeah, it's on a we don't want it on this layer, so it's pretty huge. So the actual scale of this would have to be, I think, 0.1. Originally we're just learning GameMaker coding, so it doesn't matter if the image is big, but for production games we need these sprites to be pretty close to what we actually want on the screen. So right now it's at 1/10 of the size, so we need to bring it close to that and resize it. That's called game optimization. That's what we need to do, but for now I think we're just going to stick to this, and let's just create another object out here, obj underscore enemy underscore bullets. Yeah, so that's going to be our enemy bullet, and let's give it the amazing enemy bullet sprite which we just created. That would look amazing. Let's just check the size. Okay, that looks pretty nice. We're just going to stop the snapping for now because we wanted to be out here. I think I just create this, make it red, because blue is, I think, a bad color choice. So that's our enemy bullet, that's our ship, and shooting bullets from the ship is going to be pretty simple, straightforward. So what we want to do is we want this bullet to fire towards the player, but it's not going to follow the player. Only when it's being shot out, it will move towards the player and then continue moving in that direction. So that is actually what we want. So for that, I think enemy bullet, we need a create event. So we're not scaling anything. I think the size of the bullet looks fine. You would need something called an enemy, I think, a bullet speed. Bullet underscore speed is equal to, I think let's stick to, what is it? I think let's just try 5 for now. Okay, and we want to shoot towards the player. So our target is target underscore direction is equal to I think there's a function called point underscore direction. This function returns a vertical vector form to fix. Okay, so I think what point direction is what we want. So this is our position, our x and our y is our position of the bullet, and we want the obj underscore player dot x, that is what we want to point to. So player y, that's where we want to point the direction is. I want to set a speed to the bullet speed is equal to bullet speed. That's the direction we want to, speed we want to travel in, and then we can just actually set the direction to the target direction. So if you now run the game, the bullet should move towards the player, but it would not follow it, but just move towards it. So yeah, that did work. So the player was out here, it did follow him, and yeah. So now on the enemy ship, we want to actually spawn these bullets every, I think 2 seconds or something. I think 1 second or 2 seconds. So yeah, create event, and we need an alarm. Alarm is where we're going to have our actual code happening. So okay, instance, we've already done this a number of times. We're just going to speed it up. Instance underscore create underscore layer. So I'm just creating an instance of the bullet, instance y, and we're going to create it at the position of the enemy ship, x and y position of the enemy ship, the origin of the enemy ship. That is where we're going to place it. We want our layer where we want to create this object projectiles. That is where we want it, and we are going to create an instance of obj enemy bullets, and we don't have to take care of the shooting direction. We've already done that in the bullets. The moment the bullet gets created, it's going to automatically fly towards the player. So that is what we've done, and in the beginning we just need to make sure we call this alarm 0 is equal to game underscore get speed. That would be 1 second, and we want to create it every 2 seconds. What did I do? Yeah, every 2 seconds. So that is, so out here currently this alarm will be just called once, and then it will not happen. So if we run the game now, the bullet will just be fired once. This is the existing bullet, and the ship just fired a bullet, and nothing else happened. So to make that looping effect, we need to call the alarm once again at the end of the alarm. And I also noticed one more thing, the bullet shot a little bit from the side. That's because the origin is not right, so we make the origin middle center. And now the enemy ship would be firing bullets. We just remove the existing bullet from here. That's just going to confuse us. And we also remove this meteorite, which we do not need. I'm just going to keep the ship there for now, and yeah, let's just check. So hopefully it's going to fire a bullet. One bullet fired, another bullet fired towards the player, another bullet fired. That looks pretty nice. I think if we just speed up the bullets, it's going to be a little bit more challenging, and I think we can also tune the speed of the bullets being generated. We're just going to increase it every 1.5 seconds. 1.5 seconds. And the speed of the bullet, we're just going to increase it to say 10. A bit crazy. Let's just test it out now. Boom. I think that looks pretty fast. Yeah, that's working pretty cool. So now what we want to do is we want these enemies to come from the side. There's already something in GameMaker called path, which we can actually use for that. So we're going to quickly go ahead and create two paths. One from the right hand side and one from the left hand side. So we've got path out here, create a path. We're going to call it level underscore 1 underscore path 1. And we're just going to create another one, path level 1 underscore path 2. So path 1, what we want to do is, So out here, if we edit this, it's going to be very difficult to edit, because right now, if I put a pointer out here, it's very difficult to see what is exactly happening. So the best way to do this is create a path, put a single dot there or something, or just make a line out here and open this one also. I think we're going to use curve. We don't want a straight line. We want the enemies to move in an angle. So just put these couple of points, and yeah, I think this one is going to move towards the left hand side. So right now we do this, and in the room we create these path. Sorry, this is a tile layer. We don't want a tile layer. Sorry, we want a path layer. So yeah, this one. That's going to be path 1. We're going to assign it path 1 out here. Now we can actually see how it looks in the room. So path 1, we want it to be way out, because that's where we're going to spawn our enemies from, and we want it to go way down. But this is a straight line. We want to add in a bit of curve. We put another point out here, and we just curve it a little bit. That's going to look pretty cool. And yeah, we just move this around. So the benefit is now we can actually see how these actually look. And so we do the same thing. We just duplicate this and set it to, we call it path 2, but it's using the same line. We just change the path file out here, give it a different one, and we do the same thing with this. We keep it way ahead on top out here, and we position it. So we want the players to about here. Give it a little bit of rotation, a little bit of an angle. I think that looks pretty cool. That looks pretty nice. Okay, that looks, I think, pretty nice. That's going to do for now. So basically what we want to do now is we want to have the enemies follow this path and come along this path. So let's create an enemy spawner. Like we have the meteorite spawner, we're going to have an enemy spawner. obj under enemy underscore spawner, and we're going to have a create event out here, and we want to have a step event, sorry, an alarm event. So you can spawn enemies at certain interval, and we also need to make sure that we have this object in our room. So I think let's just keep it in the instances object, instances layer. Yeah, that's done. Okay, now I had this bit written down a bit because this is a little confusing part. Even I had to learn a bit of path and stuff, how to get things moving along a path. So I have it written on a notepad, but yeah, so this is what I've written, but I will explain every bit of it, what I'm doing right now. So in our enemy spawner, what we're going to do is we're going to have, first of all, we're going to have the alarm set. Alarm, we want to call the 0 alarm every, I think, 2 seconds or something. So game underscore get speed. I think you've done this 10,000 number of times, not 10,000 times, but number of times. So you should be pretty familiar with this. And yeah, so 2 seconds, and after that we also make sure that the end out here, we also call this so that it actually works. So, and instance underscore create underscore layer, we want to create an enemy, and we want the enemy to be created at 0.0, because at this point it actually doesn't matter where we are creating it, because it's going to follow a path. So the position of the enemy is going to be the same as the path. If you set it at 0, 0, it doesn't matter. We need to place it in the room, and I think let's create a layer for enemies. Yeah, let's just create an instance layer and call it enemies. You're just going to copy that. Enemy spawner, enemies, and you want to create an object of object enemy. That's what you want to do. And we need to set it to a path. So path underscore assign, I think. Path underscore assign. What does assign do? With this function, you can copy a path data. No, we don't want to do that. We want to add path end. Nope. Path speed end action. Yeah, I think this is what we need. So path underscore action out here, and the path you want to move it is level underscore 1 underscore path, and the speed you want to move at is, I think, let's just keep it at 3 for now. We might have to fine tune this. And the end action, path end action, is gonna be it's going to stop at the end, and we want it to be, this will be a true. Okay, what this is? So let's just set it to true for now, and then we'll see what this is. So path start, if we just, so the last part, whether the calling instance should follow the absolute path as it is in the editor or relative path. We wanted to follow the absolute path, so we wanted to be exactly where the path is. That's what we want to do. And so at this point, every 2 seconds we're going to have something spawn up on the path 1. Okay, assignment operator expected. What did I goof up? Event line 1, assignment operator expected. Oh yeah, sorry. And just let's keep a hold of the instance also. That'll be nice. To tilde, I do have the notepad out here. Still I have the code, but I'm trying to see it as less as possible so that even I remember what I'm actually doing. So yeah, I think we already copy pasted this. So we have the same equal to out there also. So at this point, after every 2 seconds, we should have an enemy spawning on the right hand side. Yeah, but the enemy is huge because I think we did not scale the enemy down. OBJ enemy. We need to scale it down. Image underscore x underscore scale is equal to, I think we had a 0.1, and image underscore y underscore scale is equal to 0.1. So that is our code. The enemy spawned, but it did not move along the path. That is because we need to make sure the paths we are actually assigning as the instance itself. So we need to put in with instance. That is, I think, the thing which you're actually missing. So now it should move along the path every 2 seconds. This was one already there. Yeah, so we picked it up left and we got this thing coming in pretty nice, looking nice, but it's coming in very stagnant and it's shooting like, oh, the game is already very difficult right now. Ooh. Yeah, sorry, I got carried away. So now what we want to do is, every frame, we don't want it to come every 2 seconds one enemy is coming. We want it to be a little bit more like an arcade, so enemies group in and they come. So we can actually put this into a loop. So we can have a where random enemy underscore count is equal to set a range between 5 4,6. So it's going to be a random count which is going to be created, and we're going to create a loop out here. You've already seen a loop earlier where I is equal to 0, I is less than random count, I plus plus. I think that's gonna work. This entire code we're gonna put it inside this box out here. This for loop. Right now we're gonna have a random number of enemies generated, but there's a weird thing is gonna happen. It will seem that there's just one enemy being spawned. So yeah, that's just one enemy being spawned, and the 1 second, 2 second, 1, 2, that's 1, 1, 2, that's 1, 1, 2, that's 1. So it's actually we're not spawning 5. This is like every 2 seconds this is being called, and 5 are being spawned, but it feels like it's just one because they're all on top of one on top of the other. So we need to add some distance. For that we have something called path underscore position, I think. Okay, a function is used to get or set the position of an instance along a path. So we can have something called okay. So we want to keep some distance between them. So gap is equal to for each loop. So this I might have to check what I have done out here. Okay, so there's this value. So this path underscore position is something we need. And path underscore position is between 0 to 1. So it's why it's like a you complete a percentage of the path. So 0 is the beginning and 1 being 100%. So say 1 is 100%. You're somewhere in between that path. So if you look at this room out here, this is 0, and if you go right to out here, this is 100%. This is 1. So we want to position the players a little ahead of them, one after another, so it creates this kind of a illusion of a line or something. They're coming in a group. So that is what we want to achieve. So we want to create some gap. So we will use I multiplied by I think let's try 1. I think 1 will be too much. We cannot have a whole number out here. It cannot be greater than 1. So the path position would either have to be a 0 or a 1 or something in between. So we have to make sure that the enemies we are spawning, and we're creating this gap. So basically 1 into 0.1, and then next is going to be a little bit further ahead, little bit further ahead, little bit further ahead. So yeah, so we need to make sure that this is not more than 1, else it will not work. This, at least they will not show up on the screen. The path position, we're putting them a little bit ahead, and yeah, let's just see how this actually looks. Okay, that did work, but that was like too much ahead. So let's just try to reduce it. Okay, 0.5. Let's just reduce this a bit, and I think let's just reduce the bullets are firing very fast. So let's just keep this spawning at every 4 seconds. Just to keep a little bit of gap, and yeah. And I think they were coming right at the beginning of the room. We just lift a little bit up so that they come up a little bit from outside the room. Okay, that's like super cool. And I think we need to increase the speed. The speed is so slow. That's why it's looking a bit weird. So that's something, yeah, the speed is set to 3. Let's increase the speed to I think at least 5. And path stop. Okay, that's working nice. A couple of things we might have to fix. So it's actually shooting the bullets way ahead, and these bullets are firing all at once. So you might have to put in some gap there. That's pretty simple, I think. So this thing you can actually put in some random out here. Yeah, let's just not work on it right now. I think. Let's just finish up the game which you want to create first, and then we can actually fix this up. Or else let's just try it out. We can just add a random range between 1 to 2. Okay, let's just do random range for now. Ideally, I'll have to check this out a bit. So this should have a decimal value, but yeah, let's just keep it for now. So every enemy fires bullets at random intervals. So there'll be a little bit of gap being created there. Yeah, little bit of gap, but that's actually becoming chaotic. But okay, so the next part is I think we need to make sure that the path we're actually giving, we can also change it to a choose. So it's going to be a random path, level 1 path, level 2 path. So now enemies should be coming in from either the left hand side or the right hand side. Okay, so now the enemies are coming from random side, which is not what we wanted. So we're chosen path because we want all the enemies spawn to come from the same path. So this part goes to the top, Control X, and missed bracket closing there, and then we choose in path. We take that variable, put it out here. So now all the enemies spawned are going to have the same path. So that should fix it up a bit. And let's just remove this one. I think this guy is now irritating me now. So sorry, I think he was on the enemies part or something. Let's just remove this guy. That's become a little bit more confusing there. So now that's gone. So we should have enemies coming in from some direction. Okay, that's a lot of enemies. Actually looks nice. And our ship is pretty big right now. So let's just make our ship also a little bit more smaller. Just fine tuning things a bit. So we're just going to make it one. A little bit smaller. Our missiles are also pretty big. Player missiles. Let's just make it a little bit smaller. 1, 2, 2. I know there's this weird kind of a behavior which sometimes happens. You cannot edit this value for some reason. Okay, yeah, this is an inherited instance. Come on, even I'm forgetting my game. I need to start working this more often. So it's been like I've been working on this once a week, and I tend to forget what am I doing. So this will have a parent. Okay, the player, obj player, and the projectiles, obj projectiles. Yeah, this one, found it. Forgive me for this, man. I have work which I need to do in the morning, like weekdays, and probably on a Saturday, Sunday, I get time to work on this. So I do tend to forget a little bit of things. We've got the missiles firing there. They're much smaller now, and we have the enemies coming out here. And I think the same logic for the missiles, we can actually work on this thing also. So we just have to copy paste the logic there. Player missile. And so the same logic we're going to apply there. OBJ collision. We want to have it with enemies. Just put it out here. Copy the same project out here. Is exploded. Other dot is destroyed. We will have this. So basically, whatever the meteor logic was, we're applying the same logic to the enemy. We're going to have something like is destroyed is equal to false. And we're going to create a step event. If is underscore destroyed, instance underscore destroy, because you might want to have some animation come in out here. So we're using the step event, and that would destroy this instance out here, and the projectile missile, I think. Yeah, so let's just run it out here. At this point we should be able to shoot the ships also. So this works, this works, this works. Where are the ships now? Come on. Boom, boom. We've got two ships there. Boom, boom, boom. That works. Boom, boom. Yeah, and our missiles are exploding also. We've got a lot of explosion happening now. Yeah, I think I like this one. I like this. So our ship is not getting hit. We definitely want our ship to be hit also. So I think we're going to write it on the player itself. So we just handle collisions on the player itself. We're going to check for collisions. Say we're just going to track the OBJ bullet. And we're also going to use the OBJ underscore other, collision OBJ meteorites. This would be a good time to use scripts because we're writing the same code in two different places, right? For now, let's just put it on the bullet out here, then we can move it to a script and then have it there. So let's just create a variable out here, is underscore destroyed. You might want to have in health or something out here, but we're going to have a simple boolean out here, is destroyed, like we have in the enemy ships for now. And we're going to do everything if underscore is destroyed, is not is destroyed, then we're going to do all these calculations and stuff. If it's destroyed, we do nothing. We move everything inside this if block. Should delay any of this. Goes out. So if we are destroyed, if image underscore or you can say, yeah, we can put an else out here. If not destroyed, we do all of these things, else we are destroyed. So explode, and then we actually change the image underscore sprite underscore index is equal to player. I think we have a destroyed image, spt underscore player. Did we have one? I think we had one. So ships, ship, spt ship 1. Okay, so spt underscore ship underscore 1 for destroyed. We're gonna have it there, and there's this code which I always forget. Pieces, index, missiles. Okay, if this is equal to this, So this basically check. This is some code which I always forget. I don't know why I can't remember this. Just bad memories maybe. So meteor spawning and the player is, where's the player gone? That's a player. If this is equal to this, and so go to if sprite index is not equal to pt underscore ship one underscore destroyed, we set it to that. Not equal to this, we actually set it to that, and if this is equal to the instance, we destroy the player ship, or else we actually do one more thing. We can actually just room underscore start. That would restart the room. That's a lot of code written there. And okay, so the next bit would be to actually trigger the destroyed. Sorry. So if I am not already destroyed, I want my image underscore index to be 0, because we're going to do an animation out here. So we want the animation to start right from the beginning, and we're going to set is destroyed is equal to true. That's going to be what we want to do. Now if you run the game, if we hit a bullet, the ship is going to be destroyed and the room is going to restart. Nothing happens when we hit the meteorite or collide with the meteorite, but if we hit the bullet, our ship is destroyed and the game actually restarts. So ideally the same bit of code would also come to obj meteorite if you collide with a meteor. But the problem is, it's actually bad practice to write the same code in multiple places. A good thing to do would be a function, and in GameMaker we do have methods of creating functions which is called scripts. So you can actually create a script, and in the new version of GameMaker we can have multiple functions inside a script. So we can have something like a player scripts. Earlier we had one script was one function, but now I think in one script we can have multiple functions, which is like super awesome. So player underscore destroyed, we just name the function. You have function, the name of the function, and the code block which goes inside the function. So we don't need the debugger right now, we need just the player code. Yeah, so this bit of code, this bit of code would actually go into the function. So that's our player code, that's our function code. We paste it, just set the indentation is right, and now in place of obj player, we just call the function, and we do the same thing out here. Yeah, so if we just go ahead and rerun the game, even if we collide with a meteorite, our ship would get destroyed, and if we collide with a bullet, I need to make sure I survive till the enemies come. If I hit a bullet, our ship gets destroyed, and we can actually, we do have a fighting chance. So yeah, I think that works pretty nice. So, and in the missile, I think we can also do one more thing. Let's just also collide with the enemy bullets and have them gone. That would be cool. So in the collision obj enemy bullets, if we shoot them with our missiles, we want the same bit of thing to happen, but our missiles obj enemy bullets don't have an is destroyed. We're not putting this part, we're just putting in the first part. We would have either put it into a function, but I will do that later. I think the main thing was letting you know that something like a script and function actually exists. So if we get insane with this shooting mechanism, we can even shoot the bullets, and I think we now have a little bit of a fighting chance to survive this. But I think the game is still pretty difficult. So yeah, I think we have a game there. So next we might have to actually work on the interface or the menu or something of the game, or the sound, not yet decided. But we just go with the flow where our thoughts take us. So guys, thank you guys for watching. And if you like the video, do subscribe and leave a comment what we can do next and what we can do to improve the channel a bit. Mostly I'm a software developer by profession. In the morning I write code, I make mobile apps and stuff, but at night or in the weekends I generally make some games or put my time into some hobbies which I really love. So if you're into that, do subscribe, and yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a beautiful day.